Good morning. The regularly scheduled board meeting of the North Carolina Board of Nursing will now convene. We have a quorum for this meeting. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the open meetings law and is also recorded for record purposes. In accordance with the State Ethics Act and the Code of Conduct for members of the North Carolina Board of Nursing, it is the duty of every member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. Does any member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before the board today? If so, please identify the conflict or appearance of conflict and refrain from any undue participation in the particular matter. And hearing none, we will move forward with the agenda. So for the board members, if you want to follow on your screens, M3 is where we are. So welcome to all board members, and we have two new board members, Dr. Carmen Shaw and Sandra Lewis. So welcome. Welcome also to our guests who are observing today in the office and through our public link. The board's mission, vision, and values drive our work as a board and serve as a reminder to us as we carry out our business. The mission, vision, and values are posted on the board's website for reference. Are there any other announcements at this time? So the review of the agenda, we do need to announce that we need to reorder the meeting agenda as follows. M9, if you're following in your handbook, the Finance Committee, and M10, the Auditor's Report, are being moved above M7, which is the CEO update. So just make reference to that when we get to that point. Are there any other additions, modification, or reordering requested at this time? So do I have a motion regarding adoption of the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I'll make adoption.
Mr. Tom Minowitz has made a motion to adopt the agenda. Do I have a second? Andrea Jepson has seconded the motion. Any further discussions? I will call for a vote. All in favor by a show of hands. The motion carries. Do I have a motion regarding adoption of the meeting agenda? Dr. Amy Steele has made a motion to adopt the meeting agenda. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second.
Dr. Bartlett has seconded the motion. Are there any discussions at this time? I will call for a vote. All in favor by show of hands. All right, the motion carries. We're now at the open comment period. The purpose of the open comment period is to provide the public an opportunity to share their concerns, offer views, and present questions regarding issues that impact nursing and nursing regulation. We are prohibited from discussing specific cases which are either pending or under investigation by board staff or other administrative agencies regarding the conduct or failure to act in a manner that could possibly be a violation of the Nursing Practice Act. Accordingly, we ask that no one ask to discuss the case of a licensee that is currently under investigation, scheduled for hearing, or may come under consideration by the board, as doing so may tend to jeopardize the licensee's ability to have a fair and impartial hearing before the board as provided for and required by law. Individuals will have 5 minutes each to address the board. Any written statements or materials related to your presentation may be left with the administrative coordinator for distribution to board members. If there's anyone else At this time, we will call anyone to the table to speak in the open comment area.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments. My name is Yolanda Van Riel, and I am the Department Chair of Nursing at North Carolina Central University. Sitting next to me is Dr. Mohammed Ahmed, and he is the Dean of the College of Health and Sciences. I would also like to acknowledge two of my nursing leadership, Dr. Tina Scott and Dr. Marquita Lyons-Smith, who are also here today. So, dear members of the board, I would like to thank Dr. Terry Ward, North Carolina Board of Nursing Education Consultant, for her consultation, evaluation, and guidance to the North Carolina Central University Department of Nursing. Her guidance has been invaluable. The university leadership has had multiple meetings with her to help us better deliver the mission of the nursing program and excel in compliance of regulation. She was also instrumental in helping faculty understand what regulation is and how important it is by attending one of the faculty meetings. In addition, faculty have a new appreciation for rules and how to interpret them. With gratitude, we thank Dr. Ward and North Carolina Board of Nursing for their support and endorsement of our program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Van Riel. At this time, is there anyone else who would like to address the board before conclusion of the open forum period? Thank you. This concludes the open comment period. At this time, with the reorder, we will go to the Finance Committee. That's M9 in your book. We will recognize the following: the committee chair, Mr. Tom Minowitz, committee members, Dr. Etna Ennis, Dr. Shakira Henderson, and me, Dr. LaDonna Thomas. Mr. Minowitz.
You can call me doctor, but I haven't earned the title. Thank you. So thank you, Madam Chair. Also, along with the people you already mentioned, we'd also like to recognize Dr. Crystal Tillman and Gail Bellamy, because they participated in these meetings as well. So thank y'all. The committee reviewed the following first quarter financial statements when we had our meeting December 13th. And some of the things that we talked about was the statement of net position, the statement of revenue, expenditures, and changes in net position. We reviewed and discussed the report of the auditors, which we'll get into a little bit later. And that was through the end of the fiscal year, which was June 30th, 2023. In regards to the statement of net position, the statement of net position summarizes the financial position as of September 30th, 2023. The board had assets that totaled over $28 million, liabilities that totaled $10,300,000. So a net position totaled approximately $17.7 million. The net position is down 2.13% since June 30th, primarily due to the investment performance. So we can blame Wes and Jessica for that. It's not their fault. I really don't want them to get blamed for it. They just get to report what happened. So I think overall, it's safe to say that we're in a strong financial position, even with the net position being down 2%. We also looked at the statement of revenue, expenditures, and change in net position. And within that, the statement of revenue, expenditures, and changes in net position details how the financial position changed during the first quarter. Operating revenue totaled about $2.96 million. With net operating revenue from investment performance showed a loss of $347,198. Thanks, Wes. He's going to be so glad he gets to leave early today. On the expenditure side, we had operating expenditures totaling about $3 million. So the result in net position is $17,742,484. which is a decrease of $386,774 since June 30th, 2023, again, due to investment performance. So after I've given Wes a hard time, I'd like to introduce both Wes Thomas and Jessica Christie, Wells Fargo Advisors, to present the market analysis and investment performance report.
Yeah, I'll start. I just want to thank Tom for making us feel at home. I get blamed for a lot of stuff in my family from my kids and my wife. So, I'll take it. I feel at home in this position. Really, we do have a pretty positive report for last year, which Jess is going to share in just a second. So we do feel good about that, although it did come at a little bit of a surprise. If you've heard us talk, we've been, pretty realistic about where the economy is. But last year was surprising, so we'll take it. I do want to just make sure everybody knows us. At the start of the year, it seems like there may be some new faces, and we look forward to getting to know everyone. But my name's Wes Thomas. I've been with Wells Fargo for 25 years. I'm a private wealth advisor, and Jessica is one of my partners on my team. She's awesome. She's got some news she's going to share with you today. But the other person that will definitely be in some of the meetings is Amy Earl. And Amy's not here today, but you'll see her in future meetings for sure because of what the news Jessica has to share.
Is it my turn to share?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now it's my turn to share. Well, I know. Well, thank you for having us today. The finance committee does know this, but I am expecting. So I'm due in May 7th. So I'm here now, but I'll probably miss the next meeting. So just so you know, but we do have a team around you, Wes, myself, and Amy. So there's always someone here to cover. Okay. And I'll just jump into the performance then, and then let Wes take over a little bit about the markets. So an overview of the existing portfolio that the board has. The stock account currently makes up about 32% of the portfolio. Bond account makes up the rest, about 68% of the portfolio. Okay. And performance numbers, when we look at that, I looked at performance when we reported to the finance committee, performance numbers as of the end of November. I also have them through the end of the year because, as many of you know, December was actually a really good month for your portfolio. So I'll actually talk a little bit about that too. So stock account through end of November was up 6.94%. End of the year, it actually ended up 13%. Okay, we had a good December there. Bond account through end of November was up 3.18. Ended the year up 5.9%. And then the total portfolio through the end of November was up 4.37. Through the end of the year was up 8.1. So we had a really nice rally there in December in particular that has really helped the portfolio throughout the year, the full calendar year of 2023. When we look at some comparison numbers, my comparison numbers are through the end of November. S&P was up 20.8%. The Dow was up 10.7%. Quite a difference there. It's the tale of a couple stocks last year. When we look at a more accurate blended index, that was up 6.76. That's a more accurate index for what you're currently invested in. Okay. As far as the stock account is concerned, 6.76%. And then the U.S. aggregate bond index was up 1.6 in that time frame as well. So the accounts are doing well, and in the time frame outperforming what the equivalent index was. Okay. Any questions on any of that? No? I'll let Wes talk a little bit about the markets for the year then.
Okay, well, we did have a very good fourth quarter, December last year, like Jessica said, and the Federal Reserve made this, kind of telegraph that they would be indeed cutting rates in 2024. The Fed said 3 times, but that got the markets really excited about more rate cuts in 2024. And that's where we are today. That message of the Fed cutting rates has propelled markets to where we're now at all-time highs and on the S&P 500, as you've seen in the news. And I think this just makes it a really confusing time for investors and for us. It's very humbling, but we at Wells Fargo, despite all that positive move in the markets, we do think that it's pretty clear the economy is slowing down. What's not crystal clear to us is, are we going to have a recession or not? We think it's very likely we have a recession, but we don't have the crystal ball. But whether it's just a slowing of the economy or a true recession, it seems like from the indicators that there definitely is a shift that's taking place and warrants caution as the advisors. So that's where we are, and it's really a factor of high interest rates for so long and sticky inflation. We're all feeling the effects of the inflation, and you throw in on top of that the Middle East is a hot spot now. We could easily see something escalate there where there's a spike in energy and oil prices, which would be really problematic for the Fed to cut rates when they're looking at inflation and they want it to come down. If energy costs spike, then that would make it really hard on them to cut rates. So that, along with the Ukraine-Russia war, and on top of all that, I'm sure something we're all thinking about is the election this year, which has a lot of our attention, especially this week. But we do think that economic growth will slow. We think there's a good chance that the Federal Reserve may not be able to cut rates as much as what the market's hoping for, and could be disappointed by that. So we think it's possible that it's a bumpy year. So it's time to buckle up, be defensive and cautious, and that's really the way we want to be positioned. The other thing is if we were to get six, the market wants 6 rate cuts from the Federal Reserve. I don't know how many of y'all have heard all this. I don't know if this is mainstream or not. I'm kind of geeked out by all this, but that's what the market wants. And what we all have to ask ourselves is, if we got 6 rate cuts from the Federal Reserve, the only reason we would get that, we think, is that the Fed would be worried about a pretty significant recession, and they would be trying to re-stimulate the economy. And so that's not positive either. And so that's why we think this year is going to be interesting and warrants the caution. So with that, we are positioned with high quality stocks, high quality bonds. I think that's why the bond portion of the portfolio significantly outperformed last year. We spent a lot of time, Yael and I, at some pretty anxious moments in the markets, being calm and locking in high interest rates for longer periods of time. And so I feel really good about that. Our conservative posture, I think it's going to pay off. And of course, at some point this year, we'll be shifting from defense to offense. Once the Fed does start cutting rates, there probably will be some shifts, just like seasons change, styles change. There'll be changes in the markets as well, and we'll be ready for that. So I'll end it there. We really appreciate working with the Board of Nursing, and want to thank y'all, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Wes and Jessica. No questions, but a couple of comments just right off the bat. I think, first of all, I think it's important for everybody to understand that we're not trying to take $10,000 and turn it into $1 million. We're trying to preserve what we have and have some growth along with it as well. So having a conservative viewpoint is extremely important. So, we're not investing in the next great thing. We're not looking for the cryptocurrency that's going to explode to make us all multimillionaires. So I appreciate Wes and Jessica understanding that and knowing what the purpose of this money is supposed to be there for. So that's important to know. And I think it's interesting when we have our meetings, Wes gets a little bit more detailed about some of these things. And I think one of the things that I've heard a lot of is like most indicators are saying that the stock market should not be performing as well as it is. And yet it still is. So it's an extremely confusing time for them to try to figure out what actually is going on. We have all these indicators saying that it's not supposed to perform like this, but yet here we are still growing. So thank you for your guidance on all this stuff. I know it's difficult, and you never want to come here and tell us how our investments have lost ground, but sometimes that's the reality. So I think you guys do a great job overall. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Anything else for them? Thank you, guys. Next, I'd like to introduce Sandy Newell, CPA with Assurance Partner, a CPA Assurance Partner at Bernard Robinson and Company, to present the auditor's report.
And my apologies, you probably noticed I've been watching the door. Apparently there was a little confusion on the time for this meeting, so Sandy is on her way.
Okay.
So if we could table her discussion till later on in the meeting.
Yeah, because I surely don't want to give that. Everything was good.
Neither do I.
I can tell you that. Everything was good, but I don't want to get into those details.
Neither do I.
Okay. So we'll bring her up when she gets back in here. Okay, that's all from the Finance Committee, Madam Chair.
Thank you, everyone, for that, that information, much needed information. We will move along with the agenda and come back, as was stated, with the auditor's report. At this time, we will move to the CEO's report.
Yes.
Dr. Crystal Tillman.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to congratulate Dr. Terry Ward. What a nice honor for our previous board member, Dr. Van Riel, to come over and give you that compliment. So congratulations. We want to welcome our two new board members. They got sworn in yesterday, Dr. Carmen Shaw and Sandra L. Lewis. So we welcome them and we look forward to discussions and having them serve on the board. We have new board staff. So we are at full capacity now, and we have 56 total employees. So I wanted to start off with, we have two new attorneys, and Meredith is just delighted that she now has legal help. First came on board was Christy Joyce and Alexis Trimble. So just wanted to read a little bit about Christy first. She graduated from NC State University with a BA in communication and received her law degree from Mercer University. Prior to joining the NCBON of nursing, she served as prosecutor for 20 years in Wake and Durham counties. Christy and her husband live in Raleigh and have 2 boys and a foxhound. So congratulations. You want to just kind of wave, Christy, so everybody recognizes you. You look just like your photo there. So, okay. And next we have Alexis Trimble. If you just want to wave. Alexis graduated from UNC Chapel Hill for undergrad and Wake Forest University for law school. Originally from Guam, she grew up in a military family, and previously she was a prosecutor for 3 years in the southern part of the state, Gaston County. So she has moved up here to join us, so welcome indeed. All right. And with new attorneys comes new nurse investigators. So we are so pleased to introduce first is Erica Brooks. Erica, yep, there you are. You graduated from ECU in 2009 with her MSN from Capella in 2017. She worked in the acute care setting at Cone Health in the neurotrauma critical care department for 7 years. Most recently, Erica has been a part of the UNC Health Information Services Division, where she worked as a senior clinical informatics specialist for 6 years, and she has 2 children. And that's great. You can talk the language of IT and keep us all together. And Brittany Pulley, there you are. So Brittany graduated from Johnson Community College in May 2015. And then returned and earned her BSN from UNC Wilmington in August 2018. She worked in the acute care setting at UNC Rex Healthcare in med-surg neurology and nursing leadership. Her most recent experience included working as a nursing administrator coordinator. She is married and has 2 children. So welcome, Brittany. And last but not least is Becky Izell. And Becky was a former board member. She graduated from Wake Tech in 1985, worked at Wake Med in multiple pediatric roles for 39 years. She has a certification in pediatrics, graduated from William Peace University with a BSN in 2020, and worked as a nurse educator for UNC Health Johnston for over 2 years. And she served as a board member from July 2017 to April 2021. So thank you and welcome to all our new staff. Now, I just wanted to bring up this picture because we've had 2 commendations. So as you can see here, this is Dr. Ingram, and they were, and if you just want to tell us about what you were celebrating, the big 70 years.
Yes, good morning. So, yes, Winston-Salem State was celebrating 70 years of service to the community, so to speak. And so at this time, I was chair of the Board of Nursing. I'm an alum of Winston-Salem State University as well. And so they asked if I would come and share in this moment. So it was my pleasure to be a part of such a grand occasion.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Ingram. And our second commendation, Dr. Thomas, presented at the VA hospital in Durham. Do you want to add something to your photo, your team?
Yes, sure. This is the Surgical Intensive Care Unit, and they received the award. Actually, this was the first in VA history, but the second in the state of North Carolina. So that's the nurse manager, and that's our fierce leader beside me, Dr. Bronson. She is our Chief Nurse Executive Officer for Inpatient Care Service for the Durham VA Healthcare System. So we're very proud of the Surgical Intensive Care Unit at the Durham VA Healthcare System.
So it's so nice that that can come from the Board of Nursing. So thank you for awarding those 2. I would like to congratulate Sarah, Dr. Griffin, NCSBN. She's going to be on the Governance and Bylaws Review Committee. So we're happy to have her on that committee. So congratulations, Dr. Griffin. I would also like to congratulate Meredith. She is now on the NCSBN Discipline Subcommittee of the Model Act and Rules Review Committee. And I'm sure that will just be perfect for an attorney to get in and dig in those. So they're fortunate to have you. So congratulations. And speaking of Meredith, she has been promoted to Chief Legal Officer. So we're very proud of Meredith and all that she will contribute as well. And not here today, but we certainly wanted to recognize Jeff Howlett. So congratulations to him. He is now our Chief Information Officer. So we look forward to having 2 new chiefs added to our administrative team. So this is what the administrative team looks like now. So we have Dr. Sarah Griffith, who's our Chief Nursing Officer, Gail Bellamy, who is Chief Financial Officer, Tony Graham, Chief Operations Officer, Angela Ellis, who is our Chief Administrative Officer, Melissa McDonald, Chief Human Resources Officer, Meredith Paris, Chief Legal Officer, and Jeff Howlett, who is our Chief Information Officer. I also wanted to share this photo with you. Each year we try and get the group together, all 56 of us, to do a photo right before we go out for a holiday luncheon. And so doing it not only for historical perspectives, it is hysterical. It can be very hysterical, especially if you'd have seen. Now, Brad set up the camera on the tripod, and that's why he's kind of bending down, because he was on the timer and he slid in there and he got in the photo. So great work, Brad. So, but anyways, we like to do one to send to the board members the holidays to thank them for all their hard work. So just wanted to thank every member of our staff, because we really do such incredible work here, and we work together as a team so well, and each and every one is so important. So I wanted to thank you. Also wanted to thank our officer today from RPD, Patton. Yes, thank you for your service, not only for the boardroom, but as well as for the city of Raleigh. Thank you. Okay, let's give you an update on Operation Nightingale. We like to keep up with the number of cases that the board has had thus far. So if we look at the numbers, I will say that Meredith has been working on this along with Donna Culpa. And so, yes, thank you for all that great work. So the total number of Operation Nightingale cases in our jurisdiction is 15. And that's a lot better than a lot of states that we see up in the northern states. So our numbers are really low compared to other states. Okay, perfect. There we go. So just to give you, we haven't started the session yet, but just to give you a legislative update, this year is the short session. So we're in the even years. So it's slated from April 24th to July 31st. They always say that the short session is going to be short. So let's just hang on and see if it actually is short this year. The SAVE Act, it's still alive for the short session. It was introduced last year, and it's good for 2 years. So it is still alive and well. I know you've all heard a lot about the Medicaid expansion, and that we've got a little over 300,000 people enrolled now, and certainly having some issues with getting patients in to see their primary care provider. So this is certainly, the SAVE Act would help access to care of having nurse practitioners available, and any APRN for that matter. Good news, the budget included $30 million for nursing education for the North Carolina Community College system. And this is great, because this is something that everyone's been saying for a long time, is that we need to increase the faculty pay for the community college system. So salary increases for nursing faculty at UNC system and the community college. So increasing by about 10%, and current faculty will receive a 15% increase. So that's well needed. Also, we're going to see increased behavioral health funding, additional funds for NCCS to train behavioral health professionals. We're going to see more behavioral health beds and family support for those who are taking care of family with mental health issues. This week, we wrapped up our last North Carolina Institute of Medicine meeting, and it has been going on for over a year. Sarah has been participating in one of the subcommittees, and so the recommendations are going to be released over the next couple of months. I have volunteered for them to be disseminated in the bulletin, because it goes out to all the nurses and to the public, and that's a great way to get the recommendations out there for improving nursing and healthcare in general. We're also serving on our recruitment and retention. Are really the focus for 2024 is how are we going to keep our nurses that we currently have. And not only is North Carolina in a nursing shortage, but the whole US is in a nursing shortage. So what does a 2024 landscape look like? Well, certainly healthcare will continue to be a top issue, especially with the election year, like Wes said. Looking at Medicaid expansion, how's that going to impact healthcare and nursing in general? Also, the certificate of needs for additional hospitals, long-term care. Always looking at the scope of practice. And certainly the behavioral health is a very hot topic right now as well. And social issues continue as well. So just wanted to show you the latest map of the Nurse Licensure Compact through NCSBN in Chicago. We are now up to 41 states who have enacted the NLC. So that's wonderful. And certainly nursing leads the pack as far as a licensure compact. Others, look to us, other professions such as pharmacy, medicine, to see how nursing's doing it because we're doing it so well. So very proud of that. And I am now going to turn it over to Angela Ellis, and she is going to talk to you and kind of give you an update on Rulemaking 101 and all the fun that's going on with the education rules.
Thank you, Dr. Tillman, and give me just a moment to set up. And it's a date right now, so just waiting. Here we go.
Great.
I think we're ready. So it has been a while since the board has had an education session regarding rulemaking. So we thought we would combine it with an update regarding the status of 21 NCAC 36.0300, approval of nursing programs to the board, as well as information regarding the Rules Review Commission and their part in the rulemaking process. This PowerPoint's also available on your SharePoint site as well if you would like to follow along there. Before I start, I want to recognize Mrs. Meredith Parris, Chief Legal Officer, and Dr. Jennifer Lewis, Director of Education, and the Education Department staff. It truly takes a team effort in order for us to promulgate and amend rules. And this is free flowing, so feel free to ask questions as I move along. So many of the staff around here hear my motto of rules are very important. My other motto is rules are rules. So anyone who knows me knows that that I live and breathe the rules for now. So laws and rules govern the board as it carries out its mission to protect the public while regulating nursing practice. The public must be able to read the rules and know the process precisely. So the board can make changes to rules based on legislation signed into law, such as the recent Senate Bill 20 regarding midwifery, changes recommended by staff to the full board based on changes in regulation, such as the education rules, petition for rulemaking requests from interested parties or the public, and rules required and outlined in 150B, such as how to petition for rulemaking. So first, let's discuss the Rules Review Commission. Wanted to give you an overview of the Rules Review Commission and the rulemaking process. So here, the Rules Review Commission is the executive agency created by the General Assembly charged with reviewing and approving rules adopted by state agencies. North Carolina General Statute 150B requires the commission to determine four things: where the rules are within the authority delegated to the agency by the General Assembly, that they are clear and unambiguous, they're reasonably necessary, and adopted in compliance with the Administrative Procedures Act. So our RRC attorneys review the rules based on these four criteria and may issue requests for changes to rules as allowed in the General Statute 150B. The agency in turn responds to change requests and update proposed rules to address the request, and then the RRC attorneys make recommendations to the RRC. And as you can see here, the RRC has its own statutes and rules that govern their process, just as rulemaking coordinators have rules for how we submit rules. In addition to the Administrative Procedure Act, General Statute 150B outlines the RRC authority and how rules are reviewed in accordance with 150B. Chapter 26 of the Administrative Code outlines the role of the RRC and provides extensive guidance to rulemaking coordinators on formatting and submission. I always say there are rules for rules. So here you can see the flow chart for the permanent rulemaking process. And these are based on the statutes and rules that we have discussed. Based on this chart, rules can take anywhere from 6 to 9 months to become effective. So from initial board approval to notification of interested parties to submission for permanent rules and review by the RRC attorneys, the rules are under constant review and have the potential to change within any of the processes outlined in this flow chart. So let's take a look at Section 0300, Approval of Nursing Programs, and walk through this flow chart. So in 2021, at the January board meeting, the board approved the EMP, Education and Practice Committee charge to review best practices for nursing education program regulation, the related law and rules, and recommend any needed revisions to Section 0300. The EMP began its work, meeting 3 times prior to the September 2021 board meeting. It was during these meetings that the committee determined it needed an extension in the charge in order to make a recommendation for the full board. So this shows that the board and staff really review and look at the literature and regulations that are brought before them. So in September of 2021, the board approved the Education and Practice Committee request for an extension. So the Education and Practice Committee held 2 additional meetings in March and November of 2022 to complete the board-approved charge and submit a final recommendation. It was in November at a called board meeting that the board approved the recommendation to approve the proposed amendments. So this brings us to 2023. In January, the full board approved proposed rules amendment and directed staff to proceed with rulemaking. The rulemaking process began in February. Again, we're at the top of the flow chart. So we submitted a notice of text which publishes the rule in the NC Register. We had a public comment period which lasts 60 days and a required public hearing to receive comment. It was during the public comment period and the required public hearing that staff received multiple comments related to the proposed amendments. Based on these comments, the board staff determined additional review was needed prior to a final approval of the rules. So in May of 2023 at the board meeting, the full board approved staff's recommendation to withdraw rules for further review based on the public comment received. And this in turn stopped the rulemaking process. In June and July of 2023, staff met with key stakeholders. We held 3 webinars in June and July and posted the information to the board's website. We then brought the recommended amendments back to the full board at a called meeting, and the full board approved proposed amendments and directed staff to proceed with rulemaking. So this will be the second time the board has seen the rules in different format and approved. So in August of 2023, we went back up to the top of the flow chart and began the rulemaking process again. Another notice of text, another 60-day comment period, and another public hearing. So in November of 2023, the board approved proposed rule amendments at another called meeting. These permanent rules were filed with the Office of Administrative Hearings Rules Division and was scheduled for the December 14th Rules Review Commission meeting. On November 29th, we did receive notification from our Rules Review attorney that there would be a request for an extension of review of the rules for the December RRC meeting. On December 14th, the Rules Review Commission met and approved the continuance for review. And this extension of review was requested due to the volume of rules submitted by various agencies for amendments to the administrative code. So on December 20th, we did receive the official notification that the request for technical change from the RRC attorney was granted, and so we began preparing our response. So in January of this year, we continued to working on the response for requested technical changes and preparing revisions prompted by the Rules Review Commission attorney. Due to the volume of complexity of questions and required revisions, the board staff requested of the RRC attorney an extension to the February RRC calendar. So to recap, the Education and Practice Committee met 5 times. There have been 2 notice of text, 2 60-day comment periods, and 2 public hearings, and the board has reviewed and approved 2 separate sets of amended rules. Also, due to the extension of the review by RRC, the original effective date of January 1st, 2024, which was indicated to the board, has now been moved to an earliest effective date of March 1st, 2024. Again, this is due to how the law and statutes direct both the RRC and us to conduct rulemaking. So this is where we currently are. We're at the 1/3 of the flow chart to go. So this is the most important takeaway from today's Rulemaking 101 presentation. Based on the extensive review with the RRC attorney and pending final approval by the RRC, the language of the rules approved by the full board will differ from the notice of text. While the approved language of the rules will appear different once published in the administrative code, the intent of the rules remains the same, and the requirements of the programs will not change from the rules approved by the board in November. So it should be noted that the board only approves language up until submission of permanent rule. And once we are in the final stage of permanent rulemaking, the language then falls under the general statutes and rules of the Rules Review Commission that we reviewed earlier. So this brings us to our next steps. On February 1st, board staff will submit the completed response for requests for technical changes to the RRC attorney. Once the RRC attorney review is complete, board staff will be informed of the attorney's recommendation to RRC. So even though we submit the responses to the RRC attorney, there will still be discussions between the attorney and Ms. Paris to finalize for the Rules Review Commission. So February 28th, we hope to be on the Rules Review Commission meeting calendar And the recommendations to either approve or reject the rules, which will come from the attorney, will be presented. If approved by the RRC, the earliest effective date again of the rules will be March 1st. So then the last and final step in the process is publication of the approved rules in the administrative code, which our chapter is Chapter 36, Board of Nursing, and that should be officially available mid-April of 2024. However, the rules would be in effect March 1. So at this time, I know that was a great deal of information. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have regarding this. Yes.
So for clarity, February 28th, if they approve, then effective March 1st.
Mhm.
February 28th, if they reject, we start over. You all start over.
If they reject, they will give us direction. Yes.
Thank you.
We know, hopefully before then, what the attorney's recommendation will be. So if there are further discussions, I imagine we would delay appearing before the Rules Review Commission. Any other questions?
It's certainly been a long process, and thank you, Angela, Dr. Lewis, and Meredith for spending so much time on the rules and doing the revisions, so thank you. And we've just gotten word, Madam Chair, that the auditor is now virtual, so if we can slip her in, and then we will finish the strategic plan after the audit. Is that good?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sandy, can you hear us? We cannot hear you. Wave to us. Brad?
There she is.
Oh,
She raised
okay.
her hand.
There we go. Yeah, you did raise your hand. I don't know that we can hear you yet. Brad? Okay. We definitely don't want Sandy to have to type out her entire auditor's report to us.
T is actually, oh,
See if this is.
Okay.
Might be it.
Can you hear us now, Sandy?
Would it be okay if, while IT is working on getting Sandy connected, if we take a brief 10-minute break for the board members?
Yes.
Okay.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Sandy? Yes.
Sandy, this is Anna Choi. We're on a break right now.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm trying to get it to work. We've had a couple mishaps, so let me
Yeah,
see.
I was trying
I'm
to see
gonna
if
do
she
it
could hear. Sandy,
from my
can you hear me?
audio.
Sandy?
I can. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Sandy?
Yes.
Sandy, if you can hear me, we're on a break and we'll probably pick back up in about 5 minutes.
Okay. You can't. Hey, Emma. Hey, Sandy. How are you? I should have just gotten in my car once you said it was today. I'm not sure why it's not working. So I
Okay, if everyone is ready, we will reconvene. I think IT has everyone straight and, yeah, okay. We're ready to reconvene. Mr. Minowitz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So now for the encore presentation of the Finance Committee. I'd like to take a moment and introduce Sandy Newell. Sandy, can you hear us now?
I can.
Great, thank you. We can hear you as well. So Sandy Newell's CPA assurance partner at Bernard Robinson and Company to present the auditor's report.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the confusion this morning. But I want to go over two items. One is the governance letter, which is the required communication for us to have with you as the board, and then also the financial statements. And I'm going to just kind of briefly touch on some of the more important items in both. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I do want to let you know that we did have like an exit meeting with management where we went over everything. And then we also met with the Finance Committee in December and went over things in more detail. So you should be able to see, hopefully, on your screen, or you have the information, the governance letter, which I'm sharing on my computer. As I said, this is a required communication. Basically, it's to let you know how the audit went, and the audit went well. We did not run into any issues. The board was not required to adopt any new accounting policies. There were some new GASBs, but none of them applied to the board or were material. We do have estimates in the financial statements. Those are listed at the bottom of that page. Those are the same as in prior years. As I said, we didn't have any difficulties in performing the audit. We did make 4 or 5 journal entries. 2 of them were reclasses. One is where we always are HEMA's always waiting on a statement that comes in late. So nothing of concern, pretty much the normal type entries that we would anticipate. We didn't have any disagreements with management, and there was a representation letter that was signed by management. There is some additional schedules and then also a management discussion and analysis. And this is just to let you know that we do limited procedures on those schedules. Now I'm going to switch over to the financial statements. I hope everyone can see these okay. I believe you have them in your materials. So the very first part of the financial statements is the management's discussion and analysis. This is required for occupational licensing boards, and it gives some financial highlights. It gives an overview of what those financial statements actually mean. And then I think probably one of the better parts is it gives this 3 years condensed information, and then also factors and impacting future periods. And this is prepared by management. And so it's a place where management can let the reader of the financial statements know kind of some things that are going on the board that might impact the finances. Next is the auditor's report. This is a clean or unmodified report, which is the best report that you can have in our world. And it means that the financial statements are reported in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And it does go through and give some information about management's responsibility for the financial statements, our responsibilities in the audit of those financial statements. And then this is basically, again, just letting you know that we do limited procedures on supplemental information. So the first actual statement, the balance sheet or statement of net position, you'll see that the board had total assets of about 28 million, up from 26 million. This is primarily related to investments, which we'll see more later. Liabilities were about 10 million, very comparable to the prior year. And then the difference, sorry, scrolling a little bit too fast here, is your equity. So your assets less your liabilities gives you this equity, which is net position down here. Obviously, part of your equity is in your fixed assets, your building. And so you see that 6 million agrees to this 6 million up here because that's the book value of your assets. So that's the equity in your assets. The rest of the equity, the unrestricted portion, the 12.1 million, is basically a very strong equity position. This is the net income or loss from the beginning of time in this equity. So we would consider this to be a very strong equity position, $12 million. The next statement is the statement of revenue, expenses, and changes in net position. This shows your revenues and expenses for operations. You'll see the big changes, increases were in your license renewals and APRN revenue. There was about a 3% increase in your operating revenues. Operating expenses were up primarily with salaries and related benefits, which is pretty normal. Those were up about 9%. So you ended in your operating net income with about $726,000 to the good. And then the thing that always is the big swing is this non-operating section that I know that Wes has talked to you about. This is where your investments show up. And so, as you know, 22 was kind of a rough year. 23 was much better. And so you see that swing. And we end with 1.5 million in as a change to net assets to the good. The next statement is the cash flow statement. This just basically shows you where your cash came from and what it went for. So you see the revenue from fees and the different types of payments. It's a required statement. There was a decrease overall in cash, but this was because of purchase of investments, which you can see right here, the 2.1 million. And then the last section of the financial statements is the notes to the financial statements. And these are just basic, for the most part, required disclosures, similar to prior years. The only one that I'd like to point out to the board as a whole in detail more is on note 6. And I'm going to scroll down to that because we talked about the $12.1 million in equity. And in note 6, you'll see that you all have made some designations. And we go to the board minutes to look for these. But basically you're saying, yes, we have a strong equity position, but we also know that these are some things that we're going to need to do, like IT, capital asset replacement, disaster recovery, those types of things. So this note gives kind of the ins and outs of those designations for the year. The rest of the notes are fairly straightforward, as I said, comparable to the prior years. So I would like to thank Gail and Hema for all their help with the audit. Everything went really smoothly. We do some of it remotely, and then we come to the office and do the remaining part. And then, as I said, we meet with management and go over everything. Does anybody have any questions regarding either the audit itself, the letter, or the financial statements? Are your eyes glazed over? I can't see that well.
No. Thank you, Sandy. I think this is just another indication of what a great job that both Gail and Hem do on a daily basis. So thank you for affirming that with us.
They really do. Everything was in great shape. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Have a great day. So the Finance Committee would like to make a recommendation that the board accepts the auditor's report as presented.
Any further discussion? This is a committee recommendation, so it does not need a second. I will call for a vote. All in favor with a show of hands. The motion carries. At this time, we have a brief change in our agenda. We do have someone who came for the open comment area. She traveled 2 hours and was stuck in traffic, so that's why she was not here at the beginning. So at this time, are there any objections to having her come and present within 5 minutes? Okay, hearing none. If Daisha Thompson, if you could come and present.
Thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the board, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address an important matter that pertains to the future of healthcare education in the state of North Carolina. Today, I bring forth a proposal for a change in the regulations governing the nurse aid training program in our state. In 1987, the OBRA Act set the standards for nurse aid training across the nation, allowing each state the flexibility to interpret and implement these standards as they deem fit. One area where North Carolina diverges from many other states is the restriction of allowing only RNs to teach or train nurse aides. I'm here to advocate for a reconsideration of this policy, specifically to permit LPNs to play a vital role in educating and training the nurse aides. Currently, North Carolina excludes LPNs from participating in any aspect of the nurse aid training program, despite federal guidelines being somewhat ambiguous on this matter. The existing regulation under 42 CFR subpart D, section 483-.152.5 suggests that the nurse aid training must be performed by or under the general supervision of a registered nurse. However, it doesn't explicitly exclude other qualified healthcare professionals such as LPNs. When we examine the national landscape, the majority of states, 33 out of 50, which may be more now that we've seen the map, including Texas, New York, Washington, South Carolina, California, permit LPNs to teach various portions of the nurse aid training program. These states have recognized a valuable contribution that LPNs can make in educating healthcare professions. I propose that North Carolina considers allowing LPNs to teach the nurse aid training program under the oversight of an RN as federally required. LPNs are crucial care providers in long-term care facilities, possessing extensive expertise in caring for the elderly, chronically ill, and Alzheimer's patients, all of which are key components of the CNA's role. Furthermore, the scope of practice for CNAs does not require assessment skills or other competencies beyond the education experience of LPNs. To ensure the quality of education, I would recommend that LPNs interested in teaching nurse aides undergo a train the trainer workshop. This will equip them with the necessary skills and understanding of adult principles, ensuring that they can effectively impart knowledge to future healthcare professions. The need for nurse aid instructors is poised to increase significantly in the upcoming years, as indicated by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, predicting a growth of 14 to 39% in demand for nurse aides and home health care aides within the next 5 years. With the entirety of the baby boomer population turning 65 by 2029, there is an urgent need to bridge that gap in healthcare education. Allowing LPNs to participate in teaching nurse aides can provide a cost-effective solution to meet this growing demand. Their wealth of experience and expertise in long-term care uniquely positions them to contribute meaningfully to the education and future healthcare professions. In conclusion, I implore the board to consider this proposed change in light of the changing landscape of healthcare education. By embracing the inclusion of LPNs as instructors in the nurse aid training program, North Carolina can take proactive steps towards ensuring a robust and well-prepared workforce to meet the increasing demand in the years to come. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. This once again concludes the open comment period. We will now resume the agenda as printed and continue with the CEO report. I think we're at the strategic planning section.
Good morning. So I'm happy to present an update on the strategic plan. We'll review the 2022 and 2023 achievements that we've done and talk about plans for this year for targets that we will be working on. I'd first like to start out by recognizing the Achievement Champions. It's Dr. Sarah Griffith, Angela Ellis, and me. And Dr. Griffith's not presenting. We were not sure she would be here today, so we went on and kind of planned to do it, but
fortunately she's here, but that's the only reason she's not presenting. I'd like to recognize the current members of the strategic plan team: Jennifer Pelletier, Dr. Jennifer Lewis, Hema Permar, Daisha Williams, Joyce Winstead, Dr. Kimberly Louisana, Allison Bailey, Meredith Paris, and Jeff Hallett. So I wanted to start by doing an overview for you of our strategic planning process, just particularly for folks that are new to the board. We use Achieve It. So if you ever hear us talking about Achieve It, that is just the software system that we use to document and work through our strategic plan. The the foundation for this plan is our mission, vision, and values. So that is what drives our strategic plan that you all have approved. It is done by engagement with you as board members, by all board staff, and external stakeholders. The strategic plan team is responsible for being kind of the leader, the point person for their department. The Achieve It champions, what we do, we monitor the input of information. We prepare dashboards and reports for Dr. Tillman, and we kind of just oversee the progress of the overall plan. The team effort throughout all departments is what makes the plan successful, because it's truly all departments, all staff involved in this. So we have engaged in formal strategic planning here at the board for over 20 years. The plan's developed on a 4-year cycle, with major reviews done annually, which we do today, and updates are done monthly by staff and even more frequently as needed. The information that we gathered from stakeholders and from board members and staff, we had 2 volunteer teams that developed surveys tools. So the first survey tool was developed for external folks, and this was posted on our website, social media. It was emailed to licensed nurses and certain interested parties that the board maintains a list of. We had about 11 staff who volunteered to participate on that team. We had over 1,600 responses received. So that was for the external. Then an additional volunteer group, which was looking at surveys for, I'll let you figure that out. Additional group, we worked on questionnaire for staff, and what that was to look at was internal and external factors which staff believed may impact the board's work. And over 40 surveys were returned from staff, which is great. Certainly way more than half of staff participated. This information was compiled and then reviewed by Dr. Tillman. The proposed plan was presented to the board, and once the board approved the strategic plan, board staff began working to implement the overall plan. It's restarting, okay. We'll just pause for just a moment, please. I'm glad you're doing that. If we didn't have technology issues, it wouldn't be normal, would it? Okay. Achieved items 22 is where we are. So one more. There we go. Okay. All right. So now we're just going to do a quick overview of 2022. Some of this you would have heard last year in board meetings, but just to kind of give you a high-level view of what we did in 2022. Approved 8 legal department and 1 nursing education program change protocols. Lots of collaboration with Joyce Winstead and the Fayetteville State University SANE program, the Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner program. Expanded options for mutual support groups for nurses participating in alternative program or our discipline program. We approved an IV hydration position statement, which was done in collaboration with the North Carolina Board of Pharmacy, and this Georgia Board of Nursing requested to use our IV hydration position statement. The APRN scope of practice position statement was written, and Dr. Jennifer Lewis, they did a pre-licensure nursing education program trends report, which was shared. So now to look at achieved items for 2023, and this is certainly not every achieved item. This is just a summary of a few items. We completed a review of practice recidivism data to identify any trends. We started using the LexisNexis tracking tool to monitor legislative activity, which generates automatic reports and helps us track the legislation. Established an annual continuing competence live virtual education session. Presented or published in the education communique a crosswalk of all education rules. That was done in February of 2023. Created a standardized presentation for newly licensed nurses, which is available now upon request. A literature review conducted to inform our research on medication-assisted treatments for substance use disorder. Revised the legal templates to reflect pronouns, which is consistent with one of our initiatives for DEI. And 2 articles were published in the bulletin about the board's DEI initiatives. Staff activities. Proud to say we have a lot of representation both in the state and nationally, which continues to make us be a leader in nursing regulation. So we have currently 9 staff enrolled in the NCSBN ICRS program, and that stands for the International Center for Regulatory Scholarship. We've had 3 staff already complete and 9 staff are currently enrolled in this. And that's an educational program designed for regulatory and policy staff that is offered by NCSBN. We have currently 9 staff serving on 6 different committees with NCSBN. And of course, Tony Graham still serves on the board of directors for NCSBN. And we have staff that are, I guess, Sarah and Meredith have been appointed to committees for this year. We have staff serving on 11 various external advisory groups and task forces. And just to name a few, not all of them, but the North Carolina Future of Action Nursing Coalition, the North Carolina Foundation for Nursing Scholarship Review Subcommittee, and the Institute of Medicine Task Force on the Future of Nursing Workforce, which Dr. Tillman was talking about earlier, and the Fayetteville State University Advisory Committee for SANE programs, which Joyce Winstead has been involved with. We also, Dr. Terry Ward, conducted a training last year, and we had 19 staff volunteer to earn a mental health first aid certificate. So that was very popular among staff and much needed. 61 external presentations were provided from board staff, 6 formal media interviews, and we attended various statewide conferences to represent the board and have tables set up as a vendor to meet nurses throughout the state and share information about what the board's doing. Now we'll briefly review the strategic initiatives, and these were all approved by the board as part of our 4-year plan. Our first initiative is to enhance public protection through collaborative leadership. And I believe you have all this in your packet. I'm certainly not going to read it all, but objectives you also all approved. Ensure fair, efficient, and effective regulatory processes. And these are just a few of the targets that we are working on. Reviewing and revising all regulatory policies. Staff continue to work on this to ensure that they align with law and rules. Perform positively compared to benchmarks for licensure. Our licensure staff continues to process license applications very promptly. For example, during November 2023, they processed over 1,400 new licenses. We looked at recidivism data for practice cases to identify any trends. The next objective, provide adequate resources to fund programs. I will not discuss this because you've already heard the Finance Committee report and how we are above benchmarks where we should be in terms of our financial position. Increase our visibility and impact to the organization. We're working on website redesign with an anticipation of spring of that being launched. Utilize current technology to provide stakeholders a better understanding of how to access our information. Communication team posts regularly to social media and to provide information to the external stakeholders. And just some numbers here for you in terms of our visibility and impact. Our LinkedIn, we're up to almost 1,000 LinkedIn followers. We're up to over 13,000 Facebook followers. Instagram 211, Twitter, which is now X, almost 300. Our YouTube viewership subscription has increased, and we live stream our public meetings now, including the one we're having today. The next target, provide education session for nursing students. Dr. Tillman provided an education for students in a pre-licensure program, and Dr. Kimberly Luisana has been asked to present for students in various APRN programs, and there will be students attending the hearings in February. The strategic initiative number 2 is advance best practices in nursing regulation. And our objectives are conduct, utilize, and disseminate research. And of course, we continue to collaborate with the SHEP Center on workforce research. And for those of you who were on the board last year, you remember Dr. Erin Freyer from the SHEP Center coming and doing a wonderful presentation on their research. And she'll be coming back and presenting updates for us. The objectives serve as a catalyst for delivery of innovations in education and practice. The annual education summit, the registration is currently open for our 20th annual education summit. It will be a virtual presentation conference on April 12th. We encourage you all to register early. The registration will close April 5th. Ensure current and evolving roles and responsibilities align with regulation. SAVE Act revisions. We will continue to educate and engage in discussion regarding the SAVE Act and hopeful momentum of that. Our objective, identify and address issues in nursing regulation regarding the opioid epidemic, substance use disorders, and mental health. We are currently have begun to receive reports that the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services runs a compliance report to determine of prescribers that are prescribing controlled substances, are they registered appropriately with the CSRS or the state database where they are required to register? And we have gotten a report on non-registered. I don't want to say non-compliant because some cases they could be registered under a different name, or a DEA number could be a new DEA number. But basically it's folks who have prescribed controlled substances, but the CSRS system does not see that they are registered. And Dr. Kimberly Luisana and I have been working on that, and we will be gathering some information to share with APRN prescribers to hopefully get the information out there about the requirements. And this is kind of part of the North Carolina STOP Act, one of the requirements for that. And now Angela will.
So now we'll move on to strategic initiative number 3, to cultivate an organization that supports diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are looking at a diverse organizational environment that fosters creativity, innovation, and outstanding leadership. Our target is to encourage professional development, leadership preparedness, and succession plan. So our staff continue to complete in the ICRS course offerings that Angie talked about, as well as offerings to engage in ongoing learning and development. Also under this, we have had quarterly education with experts in the field of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Moving on to the final strategic initiative number 4, foster mobility of licensed nurses and facilitate access to safe nursing care. We have one objective here: to facilitate the safe and effective practice of nursing using telehealth and emerging technologies. So there's been a review of the Nurse Practice Act Administrative Code and the position statement telehealth, telenursing for needed revision. and Dr. Raquel Ingram and Staff Liaison Joyce Winstead will be discussing this later in the meeting. So we wanted to go ahead and let you know that we've worked with the strategic planning team and set our targets for 2024. These were presented to Dr. Tillman, and staff are currently already engaged in these targets. For compliance, increase the geographic range and number of treatment facilities and addictionologists. For finance, achieve an unqualified clean audit. Investigations is going to be reviewing the feasibility of a pilot program for licensees with mental health challenges, which is impacting their practice. Legal will examine the legal processes and data analysis from the conclusion of investigation to determine if revisions needed to processes. The Education and Practice Committee will come to the board later this year with a committee charge request regarding simulation. Practice is working on providing education and consultation on the new telehealth, telenursing position statement, which is coming before you today. And I do want to go back to education to let you know that the staff will be educating on the new education rules and already have some activities planned in terms of getting that information out and educating programs. APRN, the CSRS compliance audits to monitor trends and provide appropriate education. We'll continue research study on MATs. Communications, the communications team this year is going to be looking at implementing podcasts for the board. The CAO, CNO collaboration, which is with me and Dr. Sarah Griffith, we are developing and implementing an internship program to help those in the state learn more about regulation. IT will continue to evaluate the current database, which we call Doris, to identify opportunities for efficiencies there. And administration will develop a secured portal for board members so that we can increase your work efficiencies as you do your work for the board. So that is our presentation, and we're open to any questions. None? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you both for that lovely presentation. We appreciate the wealth of knowledge and information you provided to the board today. As we move along with the agenda as printed, if you're following, we're at M11, the Board Governance and Finance Committee. I would like to recognize the following: the Board Governance Chair, Andrea Jepson, committee members, Arlene Imes, Dr. Shakira Henderson, Frank DeMarco, and the staff liaison, Angela Ellis. Ms. Jepson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you'd like to follow along, we're going to refer to the agenda item M11. You'll find it on page 42 of your electronic packet if you have one. At the December meeting, the Governance Committee received a recommendation from the staff to combine the Board Governance and the Finance Committees. The committee reviewed the composition and responsibility of both committees, considered board member time commitments, as well as the fiscal savings related to the recommendation. In addition, it was noted that governance matters may have a financial impact. By combining the Governance and Finance Committees, members will have a complete overview of both the governing and fiscal responsibilities of the board to allow for more streamlined decision-making. After discussion, the committee approved the staff's recommendation to combine the Board Governance and the Finance Committees and presented it to the full board for full approval. If the board approves the committee's recommendation, the new committee members will be appointed based on the new composition outlined on page 43 in your electronic packet. Madam Chair, the committee recommends the board approve the newly combined Board Governance and Finance Committee for the implementation January 2024.
Thank you, Ms. Jepson. Any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve the staff's recommendation? It was moved by Dr. Cheryl Wheeler. Do I have a second? It was seconded by Dr. Anna Seaman. I will call for a vote with raise of hand. All in favor? All right, the motion carries. Thank you. At this time, we will move to section M12 of your packet, Education Program Activity. I would like to recognize staff, Dr. Terry Ward.
Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you for having us this morning. I am presenting Piedmont Community College for the determination of approval status. Piedmont Community College requested permission to begin a practical nursing program. The application was received by Mr. Derek Woods, who is the program director, who is with me at this time. The application was received in September of 2023 and included information to establish the PM program. The proposed PM program requires 43 to 48 total credit hours, 13 to 18 non-nursing, and 30 nursing credits to be completed across 3 semesters. The maximum total enrollment approved by the North Carolina Board of Nursing currently is 24 students. The proposed date of admission for the first class in August of 2024. The PM program will be physically located at Piedmont Community College in Roxborough, North Carolina. And the first graduating class of PN students is scheduled to occur in May of 2025. The application demonstrates evidence of the proposed student population, projected student enrollment, financial resources, and learning resources to implement and maintain the program. The current physical facilities are adequate to support the program's needs for both students and faculty. The program has the support of administration, including the president, vice president, dean, and chief nursing officer. The site visit was conducted on November 28, 2023, and it confirmed that the information and application was accurate and that the facilities were adequate to support the program needs. Clinical agencies were identified with the support of approval for utilization for the proposed program. The application submitted to the board included written indications from all of those agencies that those were agencies which could be used as clinical resources. An initial survey again was conducted on the 28th, and there were no recommendations of that initial survey. At this time, I'd like to recommend that Piedmont Community College be granted initial approval for the PM program with a maximum total enrollment of 24 students to begin in August 2024.
Thank you, Dr. Ward.
This is Mr. Derek Woods. He's the program director.
And thank you for coming, Mr. Ward. Do I have a motion to approve staff's recommendation? All right. Dr. Amy Steele has made a motion to approve staff's recommendation. Do I have a second? All right. Ms. Karen York has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Okay. I will call for the vote. All in favor by a show of hands. Okay. The motion carries. Congratulations, sir.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I'd like to present South College of Asheville, North Carolina, who is requesting determination of program approval status for an Associate of Science in Nursing program initial approval. The North Carolina Board of Nursing received an application from Dr. Katie Thomas, Associate Dean of Nursing with South College, to establish an Associates in Science program. The application was received in September 2023 and included information to support the establishment of the ASN program. The proposed ASN program requires 108.5 total credits and 51.5 non-nursing credits and 57 nursing credits to be completed across 7 quarters or 4.67 semesters. The maximum proposed total enrollment requested is 120 students. The proposed date for admission of the first class is June 2024. The proposed ASN program will be physically located at South College in Asheville, North Carolina. The first graduating class of the ASN students is scheduled to occur in June of 2025. The application demonstrates evidence of the proposed student population, projected student enrollment, financial resources, and learning resources to implement and maintain the program. The current physical facilities are adequate to support the program needs for both students and faculty. The program has support of the administration, including the chancellor and the dean. The site visit on October 31st, 2023 confirmed the information in the application was accurate. The current facilities are adequate to support the program needs for both students and faculty. South College has authority for degree granting from the Southern Association of Colleges and School Commission on Colleges. Kay Thomas is the Associate Dean. She's sitting here to my left, and she is qualified to fulfill the program director role for South College. There are other programs at South College, and the status of those programs are as follows. South currently has a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing program with full approval status. The approved enrollment for the BSN program is 180 students, and the current enrollment of the BSN program is 38 students. The current NCLEX pass rate for the BSN program is 100%. South College has a practical nursing program, which has an initial approval status. The approved enrollment for the PM program is 120 students. Due to attrition, only one student from the original cohort remains, and that student has chosen to join the second cohort, which has 19 students who are currently enrolled, with an expected graduation date of September 19, 2024. The PM program is slated for a final semester survey in 2024 once full implementation of the PM program is completed and compliance with rules can be reviewed. The NCLEX pass rate for the PM program is yet to be determined. The ASN application includes a proposed total curriculum with the philosophy, the objectives, the course objectives, descriptions, syllabi, and a written plan. In addition, clinical agencies that indicate approval for utilization to the proposed or by the proposed program was submitted with the application, and indications from nurse executives that those sites and resources are available. At the initial survey, which was conducted on October 31st, 2023, there were no recommendations for facilities or faculty resources because of the initial survey. The recommended board action at this time is that South College ASN program application for initial approval be delayed until the status of the PN program can be determined consistent with Rule 21 NCAC 36.03302. At such time, the board will conduct a final semester survey after full implementation of the PN curriculum and NCLEX scores for the VERS graduating class are available.
Thank you, Dr. Ward, Ms. Katie Thomas, and colleagues for joining us. Do I have a motion to approve staff's recommendation?
Madam Chair, I make a motion, I move to approve staff recommendation.
Ms. Diane Layden has made the motion to approve staff's recommendation. Do I have a second? Dr. Edna Ennis has seconded the motion. Are there any further discussions? Okay, Dr. Ingram?
I have a few questions, I'm sorry. I just wanted to know how many were in your first cohort?
We only had four, and two had personal issues that came up. One was not successful. And so the other students were a great student, and we gave her several options of what she wanted to do, continue as was, and she chose to join the next cohort. And, you know, I would like to say that the reason of us being here today is, and by the way, I'm Kim Hall, I'm the Vice Chancellor for South College. And we did not anticipate looking at the ASN program until our clinical partners started really talking to us. And it's not just happening in North Carolina, it's happening in Tennessee and Georgia and all of our other, where our other campuses are. And there is such a need, such a shortage of RNs that they're asking us to look at this, to look at our ability to put an ASN program in. And because it is the same NCLEX exam as the BSN, you know, our Asheville campus has had a 100% pass rate on NCLEX for 2 years in a row. Our institutional NCLEX pass rate, which is across 7 different locations, was 99% in 2023. Our PN pass rate for NCLEX for 2023 was 97% at 4 or 5 of our campus, across all of our campuses. I think there's 4 or 5 that offers the PN. And so that's why our clinical partners know of our success. They know of the ability of our graduates. And so that's why we've been asked. And so, as mentioned, we have letters of support. We have copies of those here today if you'd like to see those. But they are Mission Hospital, Pardee, VA. I mean, they're asking us to do this. And so delaying us for a few more months seems to be not meeting the mission of our institution, which is to meet the employer needs of our institution and our campuses. But it's also the need of the state of North Carolina, as indicated earlier in this meeting, about the shortages, and the shortages continue. So we have students that will have to complete prerequisites. So they will not be, you know, we can get the LPN visit done, and we can show what we're doing, and we feel like we're going to have great results, just like we've been having with our other programs. And so we just ask for consideration of this due to these circumstances that we're dealing with today, and our healthcare professions organizations asking us, please, 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 we need a bigger pipeline for RNs.
Ms. Layden?
I have a question. So I don't understand. The approved enrollment for the BSN program. Current enrollment is only 38. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Why, please?
Well, it's a new program. I mean, we've had the program for 3 years, I guess now, 3.5 years. And so our enrollment is continuing to grow. When we ask for approval, we ask for the maximum capacity that we could, you know, take in our program. And so therefore, you know, as time goes by, we feel like that we will continue to grow. But you don't start, you know, our experience has never been at a campus that we start out right away meeting our maximums.
Okay, but you know, you got so you're really trying to stay away from the BSN program and just have the associate?
No, absolutely not. We're trying to figure out ways to meet these requests from our partners to create RNs. And so we've been at our other campuses. I mean, I will say that across our institution, we have about 500 and something ASN students now because that program has been very embraced as we've implemented them at other campuses. So because of the speed, the time. And so there's lots of folks out there that also have lots of transfer credit that some other gen eds, they'll be able to transfer. So they'll be able to start into the nursing courses fairly quickly. But it may be down the road, if this shortage ever happens or goes away, that we'll have a different discussion. And a lot of the reason we went to BSN in those years ago was because a lot of the magnet status situations that was happening where the hospital systems were seeking magnet status to hire a large percentage of their nurses to be BSNs. But a lot of them now, even though they want to, they don't know if they're going to keep the magnet status because they can't necessarily hire all BSNs because of the shortage. So they're looking for ways to get as many RNs in their hospital systems as they possibly can.
Dr. Steele.
Hi, thank you so much
Hi.
for being here today. So my question is regarding the delay or the pause. So you have 4 students, 1 chose to join the next cohort, 2 separated from the cohort, and 1 passed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think just my background is in education, not necessarily nursing education. Do you believe that the 19 students who are currently enrolled in the second cohort with an anticipated graduation of September 2024 will show greater results
Absolutely.
on the NCLEX, especially since it's a short time for the PN program, like it's a shorter amount of time in general than the BSN program.
Absolutely.
And of course, the ASN program would be the middle ground between the 2 programs. So I think it's prudent of us to really wait for those results first before we look to expand yet a 3rd program. And that's just how I'm looking at it. So what do you think you will see with these 19 students in this cohort coming up in September?
I don't want to sound overly confident, but I will answer based on, we have these programs at multiple campuses. And we're very supportive of each of our campuses. So we work with, our overall nursing administration, with our strong leadership at this campus. And we have, in my opinion, the strongest leadership at the Asheville campus that we've historically had with the institution, with our nursing leadership as well as our campus leadership. But our results have been consistent year after year. And we've shown we use ATI and we use it across all of the resources across the total program. That's at our expense, not the students. Because we know that we've seen great success in being able to get our students, through their educational activities and be able to pass the NCLEX. Because if they don't pass NCLEX, they can't work in the field, which is what our goal is. And so we are confident, our students, as they're showing and progressing, we're confident that when these students graduate, that they're going to be successful in NCLEX. And again, as I said, last year, we had 2 campuses, our Nashville campus and our Asheville campus had 100% pass rate. Our Knoxville campus had 1 student fail the NCLEX. Our Atlanta campus had 1 student fail. And in our Orlando campus, which is a new campus, this was their first year for graduates, they have 100% pass rate on the PN. So we have, worked so diligently on this process that we're confident about what's going to happen when these students get to graduation.
Dr. Ward, I think your hand was raised.
I just wanted to clarify a point that you asked about, Dr. Steele. There are no graduates from the PN program who have successfully passed NCLEX. You said, and 1 did.
They
No,
passed
that
the classes,
student
right.
passed the classwork and moved. So there are no NCLEX scores for the PN program.
Until September.
May I respond to that question also?
Hi, Dr. Danielle Kwasnick. One, I want to thank you, Madam Chair, Dr. Tillman, and all the board members for having us here again. I did want to also bring up the fact that, as you all know, the PN NCLEX is different, whereas the ASN and BSN take the RN NCLEX. And we do have 100% pass rate in the BSN, and we have very strong numbers across our campuses. So I do want to bring that up and make sure that awareness is there. Also, with the board's regulations, we fully understand that you look at the other programs within our campus. But we're also asking you to also look at the other programs within our institution, as Dr. Hall said, and we collaborate on a regular basis. We have weekly meetings across our campuses. So when we have the results and we talk about our institutional results, those are mirrored at every campus. And that speaks to our curriculum because our students, our faculty and staff are very different, but our results are the same. So that really tells you that our curriculum is strong, and that's in our PN, our ASN, and our BSN program. We also have pathways that will allow our students to move from PN if they want to move to ASN and then eventually go that BSN route as well. We will have eventual pathways for them there, and that's another goal for our students. And I fully understand that we don't have the outcomes yet. We did start a small cohort, and please know, we know our students. I was hanging out with our LPN students in the lobby the other day, our new cohort. They are a good group, and we wanted to provide the best opportunity for the one student. It was unfortunate, and that's something when you start a small cohort, you know that there's possibilities. Life happens, things happen. It was a small cohort, and we wanted that one student remaining to have the best experience possible, and we knew that that would be, you know, we gave her multiple choices because we wanted the option to be hers, but we knew that that would be to be with a cohort and a cadre of others that she could work with and create study groups and all of those things. And that's what they're doing. So I just wanted to raise that our results are proven, and we have good numbers. We have 100% pass rate. We're one of the few institutions in the state of North Carolina that had that with our BSN program. And I feel strongly that our ASN program would be the same. Our need in Western North Carolina, there's over 681, I think was our number, over 600 acute care openings that can be filled by ASN RN students, graduates. 450 open positions at Mission Health alone. They currently have 300 travel nurses in their system. We need North Carolina residents to fill that void. We need North Carolina students and graduates to become nurses in the state of North Carolina. And close to 80% of our graduates are staying and working in North Carolina. And again, this is a need that our hospitals brought to us in 2022 before I even came to the Asheville campus from our Atlanta campus. And this was our hospitals that asked for this because they have a need and they have a void, and we're trying to fill that. And I truly just want to say, I've been part of South College for 5 years, higher ed for 27 years, including 20 at Nova Southeastern University. This is the most caring group of faculty. When I talk to you, I hung out with our students the other night and watched them help create a study group on their text thread at 7:30 at night. That's what we do. And that's why our pass rates and success rates are where they are. Delaying this at this request will only delay us being able to fill that void of that 600 acute care openings. So we ask a reconsideration of that delay.
I think Dr. Steele has one question. I'm sorry, Dr. Ingram.
So your BSN program, the North Carolina-based program, how long has that one been in operation?
3 years, 2020.
Sorry, I just came to Asheville in 2023, but product of Gardner Webb University from North Carolina. I know somebody else here was a grad, I saw. Yeah, since 2020.
Since 2020?
Yes.
So what is your 3-year NCLEX
High 90s. We had 2 years at 100%, and I think the year before that it was 9. You know, I can't call right off at the top of my head because I have the 2 years in mind. But definitely we meet requirements as far as.
Board members, any other, Ms. Layden?
Yes. Excuse my ignorance. You're going to have 108.5 total credits semester. And that's
quarter
in
credits.
1 year?
That's quarter credits.
Huh?
That's
ma'am?
quarter credits.
Okay. So, okay. You're going to do all this in 1 year?
If I may,
Yes.
it's across 7 quarters. So there are 3 quarters of prerequisite type coursework, anatomy and physiology and those sorts of things. There are 4 quarters of your core nursing curriculum. So it's a total of 7 quarters. It's almost 2 years, a year and 3 quarters.
Okay, because what I'm reading here says that the admission for the first class is June of 24, and the graduating class will occur in June of 25.
Yes,
1 year?
we admit them to the 4th quarter where the nursing cohorted courses begin. So as they take their prerequisites, they're considered a declared student, but they have not yet submitted the application to be considered a full-blown nursing student. So we consider that June 2024 would be that first cohorted group starting their fourth quarter of instruction.
Okay. I was thinking that's.
Steele?
Okay, so a quarter is truly a quarter, 3 months.
11 weeks, yes.
11 weeks. Okay, so then 7 quarters spans over a year and a half.
A year and
A year and-
year and 3/4.
I'm sorry, you're right. 4 or 3. Okay. So a year, 1.75 years.
Yes.
Okay. But the cohort that comes in June would be entering their 4th quarter because why?
If they have transfer credit. So
If
would
they have transfer credit.
yes.
If not, they're entering their 1st quarter,
Yes,
in which case they won't graduate until
absolutely.
1.75 years later.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Going back to the 4 students. And I think this is so important because the recommendation is the recommendation for a very strong reason. It's not just because, there is a desire to delay. We really do want programs to succeed and to mirror the success that they've experienced in other states. Without success in this particular program yet, not that it's not successful by way of qualitative measures of student behavior, student relationship building, faculty building, collegiality, cooperation, collaboration, all of those things. But we've not seen the test scores. And by your own, statement, it's a totally different test or it's a different NCLEX. So I think it is important to just take note of why the delay. Not necessarily that the timing would be off for starting the ASN program, because we do want you to be successful and we do want you to have the program that you've seen on other campuses be successful. But not having one student yet to pass that particular exam is of note. Like it's important. And I just don't want to shy away from that and focus on only the ASN and the BSN NCLEX pass rates on other campuses. Because you are to be commended, and you're also to be commended for having such growth in 3 years of your BSN program. But I really just don't want to skate past the 4 students and not necessarily having any results to show forth for them before we see what this cohort of 19 can do in September. I have very high hopes as well. So.
And I would just add to that we do have some quantitative information as well, because we use ATI. So as we go through, our students are progressing from quarter to quarter, they're taking the ATI, subject matter exams. And so therefore we do have that information as we've moved along, and these students obviously are being successful in that. And that's prepping them for the NCLEX, because obviously it's designed, as you know, to help them learn to answer the questions as will be presented on the NCLEX.
Dr. Ingram?
So, Dr. Ward, for clarity, Rule 21 NCAC 36.0302, does it indicate that we have the NCLEX results before a program an institution can start a new program?
It speaks to full implementation.
Which,
So what it says is that after full implementation of, and after full implementation of is when it gives the authority for the final survey to be conducted to look at the outcomes that are there. So that's what that rule says. It says that when a program is in their initial approval process, that a final semester survey will be conducted. Without students in that, the final survey cannot be conducted, nor is full implementation of the PN curriculum been done or completed, because the final student pulled out. So when the final student joined, then that nullified the full implementation of the curriculum. And that's what rule says. So based on the fact that that was a rule is a rule, and you know, and
Yes, and.
my goal is to do what the rule says, which is in my report, after full implementation of the PM curriculum.
Which has not happened at present.
No, it has not.
Thank you.
Can I make a statement? All right. Our understanding was that the board may, but they did not have to delay us. So that was our understanding that we communicated prior to being here today.
Can you speak to the applicant pools that you have or expect to have for this ASN program? And looking at your BSN program and your PN program that you have already, what are those attrition and retention rates for those? I mean, it's one thing to say I have a 100% pass rate, but if I've
Right.
admitted 100 students but only graduate 10, then those 10 pass the NCLEX. There's a big
Right,
difference
I
there.
understand. So we just completed a visit from CCNE for our BSN program. And so for that and calculating and using the CCNE formula for retention, the Asheville campus is in the 80s. I don't have it right off the top of my head, but I know Knoxville was 89. Asheville was the next campus right behind that. So we're doing well in relation to this, using the CCNE formula for retention for our BSN program. For our LPN program, we're sitting right now right at 70%. Based on everybody that started the program and is continuing in the program. And that's really, in our opinion, acceptable in what we're seeing across our campuses, especially in those first year, because, you know, obviously you have a new program, as you said, but we feel like that's showing a good percentage at this point. So again, those graduation rates are hitting where we're thinking that they're going to, and we have no doubt that, or we have no reason to doubt that our ASN program wouldn't do the same thing. Institutionally for ASN, I actually pulled this before I came, for all of our campuses and since starting the ASN, and that's for every student that's declared ASN, whether they're in prerequisites or whether they've gotten into the cohort over the past, since we started in January of 2023, our current progression rate is 83%. And that's with 1,300 and something total.
Thank you for the question. Any further discussion from the board? Okay. Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor by a show of hands. Yeah, I think the motion was made. We second the motion. Oh, restate the, okay, sure. So the motion was South College ASN program application for initial approval be denied until the status of the, delayed until the status of the PN program can be determined consistent with Rule 21 NCAC 36.0302. The board staff will conduct a final semester survey after full implementation of the PN curriculum, and NCLEX scores for the first graduating class are available. So the motion was made and we second the motion. We had discussion. So now I will call for the vote. All in favor with the show of hands. Okay. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Continuing with the agenda as printed, if you're following, I'm sorry. Right. This time the board members have requested a break. Is it okay if we take a brief 10-minute break? Okay. We will continue to follow the agenda. It was brought to my attention that when speaking into the microphone, please make sure you speak loud enough, including me, because I'm not speaking loud enough so everyone can hear. So at this time, if you're following in your electronic packet, it's M13, and it's the Education and Practice Committee Summary of Activities. I would like to recognize the following: Education Practice Committee Chair, Dr. Raquel Ingram; the Education Practice Committee members, Dr. Laura Bartlett, Dr. Edna Ennis, Andrea Jepson, Frank DeMarco, Dr. Amy Steele, Dr. Anna Seaman, and me, Dr. LaDonna Thomas, and staff liaison Joyce Winstead. Dr. Ingram.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in January of 2023, the Education and Practice Committee received the charge to review the position statement concerning telehealth, telenursing, and related laws and rules, and recommend needed revisions to the board. During the November 2nd Education and Practice Committee meeting, proposed revisions to the position statement, telehealth, telenursing, were presented by the practice staff. The position statement revisions included the key points that were identified during the August 3rd Education and Practice Committee meeting. The committee members unanimously voted to approve the revised position statement. To conclude the 2023 telehealth, telenursing charge and provide a glimpse into the future of telehealth, committee members were provided presentations by two guest speakers, Dr. Quinn Sheen, Uniform Law Commissioner and Vice Chair of Uniform Telehealth Act, and Dr. Shannon Dowler, Chief Medical Officer of North Carolina Medicaid and North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Assistant Secretary for Health Access. Committee members unanimously approved the request for the board to charge the 2024 Education and Practice Committee to review the document titled Simulation Guidance and recommend needed revisions to the board. Madam Chair, we have no additional recommendations at this time.
Ingram. Joyce Winstead to the position statement.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the revisions to the position statement. So as Dr. Ingram mentioned, that in January 2023, the board charged the Education and Practice Committee to review the position statement, telehealth, telenursing, and the related laws and rules, and recommend any needed revisions to the board. Evidence and best practice information regarding telehealth nursing were presented and discussed at the Education and Practice Committee meetings held on March 15th and August 3rd. The information that was presented to the committee members at these meetings included a review of the North Carolina Nursing Practice Act, the Administrative Code, the board position statement, telehealth, telenursing, and inquiries received by the practice department staff regarding telehealth. Also, the National Council of State Boards of Nursing Model Act and rules and other resources were presented, a literature review of telehealth, other state boards of nursing position statements, laws and rules, advanced practice registered nurse regulation and practice, an overview of the Veterans Administration telehealth model. Presentations were provided by 17 representatives from various settings across the state regarding the use of telehealth in their practice setting and the nurse's role. And an NCSBN representative provided a presentation on the International Telehealth Nursing Research Study they performed and the international guiding principles for telehealth nursing. The Education and Practice Committee members determined that the revisions to the position statement, telehealth, telenursing, were needed to enhance clarification of the nurse's role and to align with NCSBN's international guiding principles for telehealth, telenursing, the literature, the professional standards, and the other State Board of Nursing laws, rules, and position statements. 5 key points were identified to be included in the revisions of the position statement. They were that telehealth nurses need to obtain the appropriate education and competencies to safely provide telehealth nursing services. And this includes having knowledge of the language and cultural norms of the jurisdiction in which the client is located and in which the care is being provided for the client. Agency and facility nurse leadership are responsible for identifying, establishing, and implementing written policy and procedures to guide telehealth nursing practice. APRNs must have prescriptive authority to prescribe medications and treatments in the state or country in which the client is located. Nurses are responsible for maintaining and safeguarding client privacy and confidentiality of telehealth services and information. And nurses are responsible for providing identification of themselves to the client during the delivery of telehealth services. The Education and Practice Committee approved the proposed revisions to the position statement telehealth, telenursing at the November 2nd committee meeting. The recommendation is that the board approve the revised position statement telehealth, telenursing for registered nurses, RNs, and APRN practice as recommended by the Education and Practice Committee.
Thank you, Ms. Winstead and Dr. Ingram. Since there are no actions at this time, we will move along. Do I have a motion to go into the executive session to discuss legal matters?
We need to vote on the positions.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Sorry. Go ahead. All right, thank you. This is a committee recommendation to vote, so we don't need a second. All in favor with a show of hands? All right. The motion carries. Thank you. Sorry about that. Do I have it on my other page? Okay, now at this time, since there are no further actions, do I have a motion to go into the executive session to discuss legal matters? All right, Ms. Sandra Lewis made a motion. Do I have a second? Ms. Layden has seconded the motion. Any further discussions? Okay, call to vote. All in favor by a show of hands? Thank you. At this time, we will ask all visitors to be dismissed from the boardroom, including all other staff. Thank you.